100%. And that's the best part about Texas is, with the private land opportunities that, you can hunt fallow, axis, black. I mean, there's a list of, 20 plus different species, especially what's continued to been imported in the hill country, South Texas, et cetera. I mean, that it's just endless opportunities for people. And I think it's phenomenal because you're getting more people involved and it's good for conservation. It's just, another way to get people in the outdoors and have those opportunities to hunt or hunt with a rifle or crossbow, whatever they decide. That's what I mean. It's about making the memories and getting to do that with the people that are like, hey, I may or may not want to get into hunting, but all of a sudden now they're really into it. To my left is a juniper tree about 36 yards. And I'm like, if he goes to that tree, like the angle he was working, that's a 40-yard shot. And so he's coming right up to me, right to that juniper tree, like it was scripted. And I go to grab my release, and it's cockeyed. I run a wrist.
It's too much. Okay.
Tejas.
That's still too.
Tejas Hunt Club Podcast is the podcast for you and you and you.
What's up, guys,
you.
and welcome to episode 44 of the Tejas Hunt Club Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon McDowell, and today's episode is another one full of cool hunting stories, and we get to meet somebody new, somebody that I just came across on Instagram. I commented on his bull that he killed this year, and he shot me a DM and was like, hey man, if you want to, I can come on the podcast. I really like it. I've been listening to it, and I'd like to tell my story about it. It was, in his words, a perfect elk hunting story, and as you'll hear in this podcast, it is. It's an awesome story about, working really hard to get a bull and getting it done. So we get to hear from him how he got into hunting. He when I see guys that are killing big animals out west, it really gets me excited, of course. But when I see that those guys are from Texas or live in Texas and are going out west, it gets me even more excited because, sometimes people out west and from other places like to give us guys from down here in our own world a hard time about huntings that maybe we might not be up to their par, I guess you'd say. Hunting in Texas is easy, just a bunch of corn feeders and senderos. So it's cool when guys from here are going out west and proving that, people from Texas can hunt. And it's my Texas pride coming out, as it always does. But anyway, guys, this is going to be a great episode for y'all to listen to. I'm excited to have him on for other podcasts and to tell us some other stories because he's got a lot from his history growing up, splitting time between here in Texas and in Arizona. He's had a lot of experience with a lot of different animals. So I'm excited to have him on again, and we can get into some other stuff and maybe even hopefully go on a hunt together ourselves. But before we get into the podcast, I'm going to give a little shout out to Boars and Broads and Lighthounds. This collab that they did on this shirt is awesome. I got one in two colors, so same shirt. That's how good it is. But if you haven't checked them out, give them a follow on Instagram, Boars and Broads and Lighthounds. Two great pages that produce a lot of cool content and the right content in my mind of what representing dog hunters and houndsmen from all walks, from the hog hunters. We're mostly on Boars and Broads to Lighthounds, where he gets into deer trailing. It's Ricky Loftus. We've had him on the podcast before, and if you haven't heard that one, definitely go check that one out. Talks about his dog Huck and all their adventures trailing deer in North Texas and in Oklahoma. So shout out to those guys for hooking me up with the gear, and also still rocking my El Patron hat, and it matches very nicely, as Meagan told me earlier this afternoon. But definitely go check those guys out. Give them some support. Order a shirt, maybe 2 or 3. Boars and Broads got some awesome other gear also, and then so does Lighthound. So I got a little bit for everybody. We've been rolling with the content as we try to do around here at Bar MC Media and Tejas Hunt Club. But lately we dropped the dove hunting videos. We'll have from Stewards of the Wild Dove Hunt, and then also we'll have the El Patron Dove Hunt coming out here shortly. Other than that, Megan's going to be going on a mentored hunt, so she'll have a video from that, some photos. What else we got coming up? we dropped a podcast about a recap of what we've been doing the past couple of weeks because we were pretty busy. It's kind of slowed down in a sense. I'll be staying home this weekend, but Megan's heading out on a mentored hunt. My mentored hunt's not till November, so we'll be waiting a little bit for that, but should be a good time. But that's what's been going on around here. So, guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. Everybody that's been listening from episode 1 to episode 44. If you haven't listened to the episodes, go back and listen to them. There's some awesome people that we get to talk to. Some great stories in there. You'll get to laugh a little bit and you'll learn something. So check those episodes out. Check out the YouTube channel. A lot of great videos on there from this season, from seasons past. So hit a like and subscribe on those, and follow us on Instagram. Check out the Facebook group and the Tejas Hunt Club Podcast Facebook page. Let us know what y'all like about the podcast. What episodes were your favorites? We'll bring those people back on. It's a lot of fun making the podcast, and seeing the listens and the downloads every week, really helps. So make sure y'all drop a review if you like the podcast and share with a friend. Let's get into this episode with Taylor. Learn a little bit about him and why he loves hunting so much. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.
There we go. That's money.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's way better. That's like perfect. I was like,
Awesome.
I think I know what it is. There's only like three options. So
yeah. It's I mean, for this platform and like being able to just like send a link and people just come in, it's been pretty easy. I've heard nightmares of like people recording and losing stuff, and knock on wood, like it hasn't happened. We had one little scare, but because it records it natively to your computer, so there's a copy there.
Mhm.
Like I can send you a link if it doesn't upload correctly, and then you just click on that link and it'll like re-upload it again from where it's saved on your computer. So
nice. Awesome.
It's been pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
And so like when it's like on my end, it's a little bit fuzzy on yours, but it'll be pretty clear because it's recording it natively versus it's streaming it over to me right now.
Gotcha. That's sick.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, awesome, man. Well, thanks for let me join with you. This is super exciting. I'll let you do your thing because I know this is your deal, and I'm really looking forward to visiting with you.
Cool, man. I'm excited for it too. I always I like seeing guys that are producing content. Like I'm big on sharing other people's stuff like all the time. If I think it's cool, I'm gonna share it, and I think a lot of people's stuff's cool or it has like a good cause or something like that behind it. But it's even cooler to see guys from Texas that are killing stuff like out west.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed looking at your content. I even checked out your YouTube channel and watched the Meat Bull, and then your first intro video that you had. I went back and watched that one. That's like one of my things. I go watch when I either people have YouTube channels or YouTube channels I just watch. And once I first start watching them, I'll watch a couple videos that are recent. But like I want to go back and see because like I produce videos too, so I know how it is when you're first starting. So like going back and seeing like other people's first videos, it's like, yeah, like I get it. Like you're putting in the work right there. Cause obviously you don't have a lot of people when you see their page for the first time or like it's recent videos. So they've probably upgraded gear. Like they've got new cameras, new lenses, like microphones and like all that stuff. So it's cool to go back to see the beginning.
yeah, I mean, that's like what I was joking with some guys about the other day. I'm like, man, I kind of just started randomly recording stuff. And it's the toughest part, and I'm still at the beginning stages, is like getting the kill shots. Like I've got some great videos where like I'm more focused on having a successful hunt, especially on these draw tags.
Yeah.
Where I'm not going to worry about spending that extra 30 seconds on setting up cameras, and which, like Remy Warren, that guy is like on top of it. Like he can do it. He's a phenomenal solo videographer, hunter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe one day I'll get there, but I'm still at the early stages of like killing some really nice animals that I'm more focused on getting on the wall. So,
dude, 100%, and you just want to be able to capture it, but it's not top of the list right now. Like,
yep.
It's cool to get it on video, but we're out here trying to accomplish things for a little bit first.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, man. Well, I got it recording already, but so we could kind of just get into it. Like we'll do a little intro here because this is gonna be. Well, shoot, I don't even have to look again and see what episode number it's gonna be when I get it put out. But it's Brandon McDowell here on the Tejas Hunt Club Podcast. Today I'm sitting here with Taylor Weems, Through the Gray on Instagram. Which is a pretty cool name. I definitely wanted to get into like how that came about because it's cool, but it's not exactly your name. And like a lot of people's stuff, like it kind of incorporates your name in it and all that. But he killed a monster elk in Wyoming a couple weeks ago, and I shared it on Instagram as I normally do. And he sent me a DM and was like, "Dude, this is a pretty cool story." And I kind of want to tell it. And I was like, come on the podcast because I want to hear it. Because selfishly, like, people are always like, man, I bet it's a lot of work, like doing the podcast. And it is, like recording and like scheduling and all that kind of stuff. It takes time to do it right. But yeah, I get to listen to people's hunting stories. Like it can't get any better than that. So Taylor, do a little intro here, man. And I kind of want to start off like, how'd you get into it? I see like your whole family hunts. So
Yes,
your dad, your brother, your uncle, and everything. So I like hearing how the whole family thing's incorporated. And then give a little intro and tell people about yourself.
Yeah. So I live out in West Texas, born in Houston. Family grew up, father's side up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and then mother up in North Texas. So kind of spread out, as a kid, we grew up in the Houston area, greater Houston area, and ended up, always getting involved with the outdoors from an early age, whether we were in diapers and deer stands in Junction, Texas, Uvalde, Texas, all the way to, we'd go to Arizona for winters with family, do Christmas. And I slowly got into bow hunting. My grandfather did competitive archery, shoots. As a kid, he left-handed bow hunter, so I could never shoot his bows. Luckily, probably would maybe blown some up if I could pull them back at that age. We've always grown up kind of in that atmosphere of, going out and hunting. And like a motto of mine is like, we hunt for the memories, because at the end of the day, like being with the people you enjoy and obviously hold dear, and like then having a successful hunt, like that's what really capitalizes for us. I ended up just kind of grew up in the Houston area, came to West Texas about 6-7 years ago, and just followed in the family's footsteps in oil and gas. And it's allowed me to do my hobbies as much as going out and doing some of these hunts. So.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's big. Like a lot of people, like my wife works in oil and gas. She works for a marketing firm. So she's actually in Houston right now doing some meetings and stuff. So I know about that. And then her mom and stepdad have been in oil and gas for a long time. So nice. I've been around that crowd, and they do love to go hunt for sure. Yep. We did a lot of work with Houston with the Ranch and Wildlife Committee, and a lot of those guys are in oil and gas too. So I totally get that, man. I saw on your profile that you spent some time in Lubbock up at Tech, huh?
I did, yeah. So went and spent a little bit of time at Tech. I think I probably had a little bit too much fun, and I should have been hunted a lot more than I probably should have, and finished up some school back in the Houston area, and then had some friends that asked if I'd come out west and help them with their business, and kind of just went from there. So
nice. What made you? So if you're from, like, I've seen most of the time, if I guess you're an ag kid or you're oil and gas kid going into those industries, and you live in West Texas, Tech's where you go.
Yeah.
But kind of, and you grew up around Houston area, why not A&M? Man, what made you pick Tech?
So, in all honesty, and nothing against A&M, because a lot of good friends of mine have attended there, especially coworkers. But I kind of just got growing up in Tomball. That's my hometown. I just kind of got more of a high school feel with sticking around and trying to go to A&M. And
I got you,
man. And in my opinion, I just enjoyed West Texas. I have had family. We've gone out here a lot to see my mom's side. And so they live around Childress, just north of Childress. And so kind of going out west, and I think just getting a fresh start to, learning West Texas and like being in it, that was kind of what drove me to switch over to Texas Tech. So, and
got you.
My oldest brother did go there too, so that was a little bit of a drive as well.
Oh,
So,
okay, I got you.
yep.
I got you. Because I always wonder, like I said, I understand guys from West Texas, but if you're from South Texas or like kind of East Texas or Houston area, it's always wonder about that. Because I Tech was my number two when I graduated high school. I wound up going to Texas A&M Kingsville, which was a lot closer to home. But
Yeah.
if I didn't go there, I was going to go to Texas Tech. So I always wonder like what makes people like want to go to school up there. Because I went up there for horse judging a lot because we made state when I was in high school, and like kind of the same thing. Like I saw West Texas and I was like, man, it's kind of cool out here. Like I
Yeah.
kind of want to come check it out. But like I said, I wound up going to Texas A&M Kingsville, but I've had some chances to go hunt out there now. And I'm like, yeah, I really like it.
It's
So
a
yeah, I
fishbowl.
totally
It's
get
like
it.
its own little network of people. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So you said like you went back and forth here, kind of your whole family hunted. Your grandpa was archery, competed in archery competitions and everything. So like how old were you when it like really kicked in? Like what was the first couple hunts you went on, or like uh, how did it really get started for you?
Yeah, so I was about probably 8 or 9, and we started as kids. We would get these micro Midases. They were like a mini, like Matthews bow, like knockoff. It was like for the
Okay.
kids, a youth model. So he would teach us like shooting fingers, him and my father, uncles, and so we just for fun, like when we were living in Arizona for a bit, we were just shooting competitively against each other, like which cousin could shoot the best and who could shoot the
Yeah.
furthest. And so we started moving back to Texas. We were there for about a year, a little over that, and came back. And about 10 years old, we had drawn what was I think maybe 22 or 23 late season archery tags. And we're so young because the age limit in Arizona to apply for some of these tags at the time you had to be 10 or older. So we draw these late season hunts, and I'm 5'8" or no 4'8", and like trying to get up the mountain. My uncle's got like 3 strides on me, and we started just kind of, that was I think where I really was like, man, like I love to bow hunt and was enjoying it as a kid. And once the hunting started, at like that first elk hunt ever, I was like hooked. And as we grew up as kids, like every bow got better, every hunt got more intense. And as we moved back to the Houston area, we started hunting in like South Texas a lot, and like I said, Del Rio, Uvalde Junction, and just kind of just really kicked off about 10, I'd say.
I got you. So it's pretty cool to hear like you were already like you said you grew up in Texas, but you're already applying in Arizona and like
Yep.
for the time you lived there. So it's cool. Like your dad and your uncles obviously knew how to set y'all up and like help y'all apply obviously for the units y'all were applying. I mean, unless they made you do a little bit of homework on where y'all should be like scouting and stuff. You got to pay a little bit of dues, but that's pretty cool how they just passed that down on y'all and like really wanted y'all to be a part of it, because it could have been really easy for them to be like, yeah, well this is our thing and we're gonna just we're just gonna go, we're gonna leave the kids at home. But it's pretty cool, and like taking y'all out on harder hunts. Like you weren't just, some of your first hunts weren't just hunting from a deer blind. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like you're kind of getting thrown out in the fire like from the beginning.
Oh yeah, it was funny because it was kind of like they just wanted us to shadow, and obviously like we looked up to them a lot, and so we were like,
yeah,
if I can keep up with you on the mountain, like I'm doing something right. So it was intense. Our family, and to kind of circle back to that, like they were horse gatherers, bootleggers, and loggers up in southeastern Arizona, working their way up with like Transwestern Pipeline and all that. And so they were living in like logging camps prior to like Transwestern Enron and whatnot. And so they'd go out and shoot an elk off the back patio, or live in one of these little log cabins. Sorry, and so that was kind of something that I've always fell in love with, was like those John Wayne style movies and these old school westerns where you could go out and provide for your family, kill a cow elk, and maybe kill, like, people didn't hunt for trophies back then. It was more just getting meat to the table.
Yeah.
So yeah,
for sure. And it's always, I think it's like, it's pretty cool when you can actually get information like that and you can tie like your actual, like you can find that family member in your lineage that was actually doing those things. Like it was pretty cool. Like I found one of my great uncles was like one of the first like African Americans that went up and down the cattle drives from South Texas, and I found that and I read it in a book. Like it was pretty cool to find out. And like when you, like, I love Western stuff and cowboys and all that, and I got to pretend a little bit, growing up and stuff. So it's cool when you can trace your family back to being those hunters and gatherers and like kind of those first people to really do things that, you know, people look up to, especially in the Western world, whether that be catching cows or, you know, killing elk and stuff like that, being trappers and everything. So that's pretty cool. I really haven't like dove into, I'm a big Texas history fan. Like I love it. And I really want to get into more of like the Western side, like the fur trappers and the long hunters and like all that kind of stuff. Cause I mean, it's cool to read those stories that those put out. And I'd never really thought about it happening like in Arizona, even though it's like obvious, but I guess haven't made it that far west yet.
Yeah, hey, you got plenty of time still. So, and there's always something like, especially like, you know, this interaction like that you start to like pick up on, or we breadcrumb into next, you know, it's
exactly
what makes it so neat. So,
yeah, so now that I'm at, thanks, you're getting added something else to my list that I have to dude, I'm a big notes guy in my phone. Like I have notes for everything. And if it's something new or if it's a new note that needs to be made, like I'll make it. And I have a book list and like old like pamphlets and stuff that I've like seen on the internet, and I either have a screenshot saved for it or have it listed somewhere in a note somewhere. So now I have to add Arizona trappers logging and all that to the list of research.
Have you had a chance to go up there, like to Arizona?
Yes, I actually had some family that lived in Tucson. So they lived out there for a little bit, and I think I was in 8th grade. Yeah, I think I was in 8th grade, and my family took a trip out to Arizona. I have to remember what year it was, but I knew a hurricane happened because while we were in Arizona, a hurricane hit the coast here in Texas, and like it went through my hometown because I grew up on the coast. I'm from Goliad originally, and it like sent a tree limb through my roof and like all kinds of stuff. Like it was crazy. So, but luckily we were gone during the hurricane, but came back to a big old mess. But that's kind of the thing going on in the coast. I just saw, or speaking of that, I saw earlier that hurricane that's headed towards Florida, it just got moved up to a Category 4, so that's not too good.
Yeah, prayers
said
for those people over there.
By the time it hits Atlanta, it's still going to be a Category 1.
Dang.
Yeah, so that's not too good.
Yeah,
so hopefully,
prayers for those families over there for sure. So
for sure, man, because I saw that they were like grounding flights and stuff, and then like I was like, yeah, this is probably gonna be pretty bad, and now it's a Category 4. So yeah, prayers for them definitely, and I'm sure they'll need some help after all this is done. So
sweet. Well,
I
was gonna tell you,
it's pretty cool. That was like the first place I went to that I saw like as a kid growing up that didn't have grass.
Where was that, Arizona?
Like in the yard. So like that was like the thing that I remember being there was like there's no grass anywhere. Like it's all rocks. You know, I remember like thinking that was weird as a kid because I mean it might be brown, but we still have grass in our yards down there.
Yeah, no, it gets very deserty very quick, especially around the Tucson. But I was gonna tell you, if you never go back, you get above the rim, like in Flagstaff, Arizona, like go through Sedona and whatnot. You'll get into some beautiful country. It's almost like a little Colorado. It's changed a lot over the years as people have kind of moved out into that area, but it's still, you know, home for us. And we actually still have a little bit of property up there our family's on. It's always a super special like place for me to go and see them and definitely do the hunts out there. My cousin, like you mentioned, you've kind of looked up some of our families like still doing a ton of hunting. My cousin runs a huge outfitter out there. And anytime I get a chance to go with him, it's a blast, like a really good time.
Oh, okay. So that's the area. Sedona is where your family lives, like around
Flagstaff.
there? So Flagstaff.
Flagstaff. We're like just on the north side of town up there.
Gotcha. Yeah, so my wife went on her bachelorette trip. She went out there to Arizona, and she freaking loved it. So, like, she took some cool pictures. She actually went to, before that, she went on a photography, like, workshop, and she went out to Arizona, that area, and then she was like fell in love then, and then she was like when we wanted to do a bachelorette trip, she wanted to go back there. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. It's Sweet. A pretty area from the pictures I saw.
Oh yeah, it's a good time.
So you dove into the Western hunting pretty early, and I saw that you shoot a bow, but you shoot a rifle too sometimes, and I like that because that's the same way I kind of am. Like I like shooting my bow, but I like shooting rifles too. And so like when was that transition, or like what's your kind of thoughts on, or what's your theory on that? Is it more like whatever tag I can get, that's the weapon I'm going to choose, or do you like certain weapon for certain animal kind of deal, or how's that work?
So it's a great question. So in my perspective, like, so we started shooting rifles at a real early age. I think I shot my first whitetail buck at 6 as a spike, little 223 Remington. It was perfect. The youth model. It was awesome. So man, it just depends on hunts, really. When I apply for these Western states, I put in, for rifle, muzzleloader, and archery, just varying on what state it is, and just in the sense that, like, maybe I can just get a tag in general, since I'm still so early in the tag application process, especially in states that, you're building preference points, which makes it tough. There's guys like my father that may not draw a tag for like 20 plus years. And so I'm like, any weapon, it works for me. Like, I'm comfortable to switch around, and just as long as I can get a chance to go hunt. So, but definitely try to, as much as I can, I try to run with a bow. We went aoudad hunting like 2 weekends ago, and I was going to do a spot and stalk on a really nice ram that I'm sure you saw. But I decided, I was like, he's 422 yards. He was just bedded bad with, essentially he was bedded good up into the rim, but the wind was terrible and there was no opportunity to sneak up and around at that time. So I was like, it's just get a big ram down, because he was my best one to date. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on getting a nice ram, so yeah.
Yeah, dude. And that's kind of like, I like the way you're thinking on that, because it's more opportunities. The reason why I picked up a bow, like I shot rifles a long time and shotguns and all that kind of stuff, and I picked up a bow a few years ago, and it's like more opportunity. It's fun to shoot. I can do it in my front yard, and I kind of fell in love with it, but not to the die-hard bow hunter side, but like I like shooting things with a bow, and I like shooting a bow. But rifles are cool too, and being like shooting 400 yards, like that's the kind of rifle shooting that I would like to do. If I have the chance to get in within 100 yards, I want to take my bow. But like if we're talking the longer range stuff, we can actually accomplish that. Then let's take the rifle and see what we can do.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I agree. And I think a lot of it too is, what kind of terrain and like where are you hunting? Like, do I have cover, or am I going to have to worry about blowing a stock? And especially in Texas, you get a really good opportunity to do both. We hunted a lot when we were in Del Rio, Uvalde, and Junction with rifle only, and it was just based off of how everything was set up. We would, hunt turkeys, whatnot, with bow, but a lot of just depended on our circumstances. And then as we used to actually hunt down in Encino quite a bit. A friend of ours had a lease on the King, and we were very fortunate. We got to go down there and do some hunting for Neil Guy. Some nice whitetail, hogs, pigs, and that's when I really transitioned into strictly bow hunting, just because it was more of a challenge, in my opinion, and I love the close interaction you have to make an ethical shot, and that you get so much more out of it, I felt like, at that time, and so it kind of just got me hooked.
Yeah. Same here, man. It's because like we hunted a little north of Del Rio, out in that country, and there's a lot of turkeys out there. I heard you mention the turkey thing, and my ears kind of perked up for sure. As I love shooting turkeys. I like shooting them with a shotgun for sure. I haven't shot a turkey with a bow. I don't have anything against shooting turkeys with a bow, but I'll probably never do it just because I like shooting them with a shotgun.
Yeah.
But you're bitching like Neil Guy and all that kind of stuff, and like you said, it's cool being in Texas and getting the opportunities to hunt those different things. Like I haven't personally getting to be behind the gun on a lot of those, but I've got to either film or like help guide or stuff like that on a lot of those animals, and just being able to chase them. It's so cool. Then if you have the opportunity to be on some ranches at one moment, you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to go hunt this Neil Guy. But then like, as you're making your way, you like see this pretty good axis over here, and you're like, I think it's just turned into an axis hunt, and we're going to try and hunt this axis over here. So just being on the advantages of being on different properties and being able to hunt different animals like that, I think it really helps. Like I said earlier about guys from Texas going out west, like I think it really helps us, or gives us a little bit of a hunting advantage versus being like we're at a disadvantage being a little bit going up into the mountains and being like in that mountain shape. But I think like as a hunting sense, if you can really define it by like or refine it by like hunting a lot of different animals down here in Texas, when you go out west, I think it helps you a little bit.
Oh, 100%. And that's the best part about Texas is, with the private land opportunities that, you can hunt fallow, axis, black. I mean, there's a list of, 20 plus different species, especially what's continued to been imported in the hill country, South Texas, et cetera. I mean, that it's just endless opportunities for people. And I think it's phenomenal because you're getting more people involved and it's good for conservation. It's just, another way to get people in the outdoors and have those opportunities to bow hunt or hunt with a rifle or crossbow, whatever they decide. And that's what I mean. It's about making the memories and getting to do that with the people that are like, hey, I may or may not want to get into hunting, but all of a sudden now they're really into it, and it's great to see. I mean, especially like you noted Brandon earlier in the show. I mean, the SCI chapter he's running out here with the guys, Lenny Wood and everyone else. Like they've got a good format with that. So yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, because I listen to a lot of different podcasts and stuff, and I hear about I listen to Working Class Bow Hunter, and they're in the Midwest, and they're like, yeah, we get 2 doe tags and 1 buck tag, and that's all they get to hunt for like the whole year.
Yeah,
and I'm like that does not sound fun. Whereas like it just the seasons turn, and then like the hunting seasons turn. It goes from one to the other. We have opportunity to hunt all year down here. Yep. It's just like even for the guys out west, like they get 1 elk tag, 1 mule deer tag, or like that, and it's like it's done. That's it.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year, unless they hunt turkeys, or bears, but that's about it. You gotta wait all the way to the spring before that. You can't hunt December, January, and February.
Yeah, and that's it. And a lot of them too are finally starting to. I've noticed, like I've seen some of these the Go Hunt guys. They've came out down to Texas, and a few others that are big time like bow hunters. Like they're starting to come down more, or at least acreage, and get more involved with. Hey, maybe I can't get that tag out, in their home state, or maybe they have 1 tag and they do succeed. Well, now they can offset and go hunt axis in the spring or whatever else they decide to chase. It's good to see. I think it's exciting. It's more hunting, in my opinion, it is better for conservation purposes and people to make those memories. So it's cool to see people doing that.
Yeah. And it's like for all those guys, I see them, like they say, there's no real hunters in Texas and hunting in Texas isn't real and all that stuff. And I'm like, you start asking these guys that are coming out west. And I mean, of course, they're going out to West Texas and they're hunting all that and stuff. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like we've always talked about, there's small acreage, high fence places in Texas, and we get it, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, it's not like that. So they're coming out hunting aoudad and axes, like you said, and those aren't easy animals to hunt, even when they are in a high fence. So when they're low fence and free range, like it's the chase is on.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. So I know you love hunting, and I know you love chasing big animals, and that's one thing, right? And that's having one passion that's pretty hard to do in itself. But when did you pick up the camera and start to like bring that along?
Man, so I really did that, I would say probably about 18, 19, like kind of as I was finishing up, high school, getting into college. I'd always been, I guess, like interested in watching hunting shows like on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings with my dad and family. Like I just thought it was always cool, like getting to capture it. So I bet I got into it really good around like 20, 21 years old. I ended up like just having an interest on like saving those memories because my dad would film us as kids like in Del Rio with a little old school camcorder, and like we could go back during Christmases and like watch these hunts, and we're 15 years older and we're being goofballs in a deer blind, and it was like that was what kind of it was not only the sentimental value but the nostalgicness of being able to like reflect back on those like bittersweet times before all the reality of growing up kind of hit you. And so I just started picking up a camera. A gentleman, Stephen Drake, was Sitka's group. He was always kind of like really pushing their product and filming some good stuff. So I kind of
Yep.
reached out to him some, and he was super cordial. Like gave me some feedback, what he started with, like just basic camera necessities, and like not high dollar stuff, like just to get it going. And yeah, just took off, early 20s, and then just rolled it into where I'm at now. And fortunately, I've had like a lot of support, like friends and family that like they enjoy seeing it because they can't make those trips, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
want to experience it with you, but it's tough. I mean, because just life is life, and not everybody has opportunity to draw the tags or go to those ranches and whatnot. So I just wanted to kind of show it and enjoy like those memories with other people. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. I like it. I tell people all the time it's work to film your hunts, whether if you're trying to do it, put it on YouTube, or you just want to do it because you want to keep the memories. It's worth it. Like
Yep.
even the smallest part that you do, like you said, you might not get the kill shot every time, or like get it all filmed up close, but it's still worth getting the funny parts, the laughing, the joking, the stuff around camp, because it always happens when the camera comes on, but it's like little funny stuff that people remember, and it's fun to see those things again. Like we watch a lot of our stuff that we first filmed, and they'll come up on a shared memory or something like that, and you'll get to watch it again and reminisce about that day or what was happening that week before that hunt and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. No, it's special, and a lot of it too, and like that's kind of really gotten me focused on it. I'm happy to talk about. It's an unfortunate situation, but my uncle that had guided for many and many years in Arizona, he passed away, a few years back, just after my grandfather. And so I think that's kind of what switched me on to like really, with my cousin now, cousins, and then my father and brother. Like I wanted to now like have those memories like forever, and
Yeah.
like look at that. And my uncle, he had always like before his passing was like, yeah, send me these videos. I'm like, this is great, and like was really like loving it, and that was like just more fuel to the fire. And so
Yeah.
I was like, and unfortunate situation with him passing, but I was like, I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm passionate about and what like us as a family have grown up just doing and making those memories in the woods, because one day I can show that to my kids and whoever is interested, and that's kind of what to me it's all about. Like I said, I film the hunts not for just the purpose of putting them out there. Like I've have plenty of hunts that I just don't share.
Yep.
That I could. I just they're more for just a close group of people, and the ones I feel like showing, like I put them out there and to public spaces, but the rest I just kind of keep for family. It's kind of neat. So,
Yeah. So I was listening. It's funny you bring that up. I was listening to this podcast, Dixie Doggers podcast, and they were talking to this guy, and he was saying kind of the same thing. Like he was wanted to do these recordings and stuff, and save it for his family to pass it on, and be able to show his kids, and be able to show your cousin's kids and all that kind of stuff. And he was saying he just didn't know like how it was gonna like put it out or stuff that he saves for his family. But Joey Wright on Dixie Doggers brought up about Dale Lee. Do you know who he is? He was a hounds. He was a big houndsman. Like he had a lot of dogs. He was real famous for catching jaguars and all kinds of mountain lions and stuff. And the research that he that collaring and all that kind of stuff. So
like in
he
Arizona,
has a lot of. He probably was out there in Arizona at some point, but I know he was in Mexico and he was in Texas and stuff too. But they did tapes of him recording these hunts, and he would just sit down with an old school recorder and just talk about the events of the day and what they tracked. He would talk about what happened to the dogs and what dogs were doing what, and they're now known as the Dale Lee tapes. But he said if you think about it, when Dale Lee was doing that, he was probably just doing it for research purposes, like to keep track of his dogs and what they were doing and how many cats they were seeing and stuff like that. But then when he all put it on tape and put it out to people sat down and listened to it. And I'm sure he would have watched it too if he'd have got it on camera. But it was back in the I want to say in the 40s or 50s, but I may be wrong on that. But it's real interesting. You should look it up. They're pretty cool to listen to. I know they're on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just him talking about what they did every day. Like it was basically like a journal, but he did it on audio tape, and it's pretty cool to listen to.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wrote it down on my little pad I got here, so I'll definitely look into it. I love listening to podcasts and audio tapes. Like, I spent a lot of time driving oil field lease roads in the past, and that's all I would do. But luckily, a little bit more around town. But still, like, especially with these Western hunts, I'm like, all right, I got a 15-hour drive ahead. I need to listen to something to keep me occupied. So
Yeah,
Zach Bryan won't always do it. So
yeah, I hear you. Like I love listening to music too, and I got playlists all for any kind of occasion. But like listen to podcasts, listening to books, stuff like that. Like I really need to get into listening to more books. But I'm a big podcast guy. Like I think I have a playlist with just podcasts in it that I just add to as they drop, and I think I have like 150 in there right now. So
nice.
It's just like I usually go through, I don't know, maybe one or two a day. At least I try to. I'll have it playing in the background. I have to hear something interesting and be like, oh, I missed that, and then go back and re-listen to it again. But yeah. I'm real big into listening to podcasts.
Awesome, man. I love it.
You get to learn a lot of stuff for sure.
Oh, you do. I mean, it's just more knowledge. And I mean, I think with every one, you get different perspectives from different people on whether it's hunting, life, business. I mean, you name it. So
yeah, and you get to hear conversations I love. Obviously social media. It's like I like it. Like I see the benefit of it. Obviously there's negatives too, but like I mostly see the benefit of it. I get to meet cool people. I get to share different things with people. So that's what I see as social media. But podcasts kind of take it obviously to another level. You get to have conversations, just hear people just talk rather than just post whatever's happening at the time.
Yep. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. So I guess like when you're going out west, like what's your favorite? What's elk or mule deer? Is it archery elk and rifle mule deer? Which one is just like your number, like when you're going out to apply? What's at the top of the list?
Right now it's archery elk. It's archery elk by far, just for the moment, but that might change to archer mule deer next. So
yeah, like whatever tag you can get, that's the one that goes to the top.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I strictly have shot for like my first options always being early archery hunts, whether it be like first season or second. And then within the deer hunts, because some of these draws will happen like a month or two later, then I'll focus on, okay, late season obviously being better for mule deer hunts is like the way to go with how these deer rut. So whether it be late season archery, because used to in Arizona, OTC was a great hunt, and not that it isn't anymore. It's just you got a lot more people out there kind of just shooting deer like right off the bat versus like really kind of hunting hard, which I mean, it's everybody's preference, right? Like they might get a super great hunt and memory out of that. And so I don't, disqualify that at all. Like I think it's everyone to their own, right? But at the same time, like you could go back in the day when we were in high school, like when we would bug out during Christmas, in the back end of Christmas, we'd be hunting over the counter non-resident OTC tag. And so that was like super fun. So like I had like a kick for a second where I was like really big on doing mule deer hunts. And then as we got older, we got into these elk hunts, and I've just been kind of like really hooked just because they're such a massive animal, and you get so much more antler, growth to put on the wall. It's like, how can you not love chasing bulls in September? Like it just, everything is just like the emotions and what you get out of it is just top of my list. So,
yeah. So like, I like the Arizona's always been like kind of in the back of my mind, because I like the desert part of it, kind of like the West Texas kind of, deal versus, big, thick timber hunting wise. Like I like mule deer too, but I really like desert mule deer more than like high country mule deer.
Yeah.
That kind of gets me more excited than the opposite, I guess.
Yeah.
But, what kind of country are you like going from, I guess, like Arizona to say like you shot your bull in Wyoming?
Yep.
Like what's kind of your favorite versus that? Do you like hunting that thick timber, or do you like hunting more open kind of desert areas?
I think, like Wyoming where we hunted this year was a little bit more kind of open, arid, still extremely mountainous terrain.
Yeah.
But I would say getting a little bit more cover like you can get in some of those units in Arizona. I prefer that because it just allows, even better close interactions, like especially chasing these elk. But I've been super blessed to have like both to kind of bank off of. And as of recent, I think the cool part was just having in that arid kind of open desert mountainous area we were in Wyoming, because you're watching a bull a mile and a half plus off, able to come to you on a rope and chain, versus if you're hunting a little bit thicker area like Arizona, in some spots, you might catch a bull bouncing from juniper tree to juniper tree, or pines and whatnot, and it might happen just quick, and you got minimal shot angles to get in, especially in some of that thicker stuff. So I think I would probably, for the close aspect of it, I think it'd be cool to just get an Arizona tag. I've been applying about 10, 11 years now. Just had that one when we were young, and that was it. But the Wyoming hunt, at the moment I can't really top that type of terrain we were in. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that bull looked every bit of what a dream Wyoming bull would be. I mean, I have preference points in Wyoming. I haven't used them yet, but I've been buying them for the past couple of years.
Good.
So that's one of my spots, or one of my states I want to go hunt out west. I really like Arizona. Like I said, has always been in the back of my mind. Nebraska has been kind of like a sleeper for a few years, that I've seen people kill some cool stuff out in western Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's on the list. I don't know really how to feel about Colorado anymore, especially with what's going on there. So we'll see what comes of that, if it's going to turn anymore, like them getting rid of the over-the-counter elk tag. So that kind of throws that out of the loop, unless you're going to draw one with a lot of points, and I don't have that many points in Colorado.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, because I've had a lot of buddies of mine that they have been going and doing those over-the-counter tags in Colorado and been successful. But man, that's the one state I've, like, other than just driven through, I haven't hunted actually, and I'd love to. I just, with the success we've had in Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, and I think really hunting here in Texas, there's just so much time, and only so much time you can go and do these hunts.
Yeah.
So maybe one day I'll get up to Colorado. I have considered applying, just haven't quite, been sold. I mean, not that I haven't been sold on, I just haven't quite decided to really mess with it yet. So
yeah, I'm trying to get to New Mexico next year to go kill my first speed goat, hopefully.
that'll be sweet.
I'm probably gonna try to do a landowner tag, just because it's a little bit easier just to get one. Yeah, I think that's honestly it's probably gonna be the way to go if you really want to go hunt out west. I mean, it's getting an outfitter and going, because like you said, it's a big learning curve to go hunt out west, like to hunt elk and learn how to chase elk and find mule deer and all that stuff. And a lot of people out west knock it, because I mean, they grow up there, so they get to be amongst it all the time. But like for us going out there, I think it's almost worth it to be like, save your money, find a good outfitter, make a good relationship, and then go on a hunt that way, at least for your first time, to kind of learn what you need to do. Like, it doesn't mean you have to do that all the time, but at least your first shot, like, you kind of want to do that. And we went out there, my buddy Jared and I went to Idaho to hunt mule deer.
Nice.
And we didn't do an outfitter. We did, like, we drew the tags and everything, and we got to draw it together, which was pretty cool. So we drove up there and went and chased mule deer in the snow with our bows. Jared got it pretty close to one, but he blew out, and then we had a couple of more opportunities, but it was pretty hard for sure.
Yeah, that's what I call it.
I'd go back, but it was pretty hard.
Yeah, no, I believe it. That's some pretty serious terrain up there. I see like Cameron Haynes. I think he goes and hunts Idaho pretty often, and like Oregon and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like that's another state. I haven't had the chance, haven't messed with applying up there. They have a different style application. Like, you got to be on it pretty quick. So,
yeah. This was a few years ago, before they changed it to the way it is now, and like all the problems they've been having with that. Like, that was one reason why I didn't get a chance to like try to apply, because I really hadn't done my homework, and like I knew it was going to be pretty hard to try and get a tag from the things that I've been hearing. So I haven't applied there since we've been there, but it was a pretty cool hunt though.
I believe it. That's awesome. At least you guys got to get out and chase them. Especially, I bet they were probably rutting a little bit during that hunt.
Yeah,
so.
We did get to see like some rutting action going on, because it was right when a big snowstorm hit down here, and like it was snowing on us before we even got out of Texas, and like dumped on us in Denver when we stayed the night. It was a pretty cool trip. Like for
Yeah.
your first hunting trip to drive from Texas, like it hit all the little check marks without being like hitting the pocketbook, stuff's breaking down. Like it was right in that edge for anything of that nature, but it was like just the right amount of excitement. We got to see a big, huge herd of elk, like everything. Like it was an awesome trip. Like, but without the success of shooting something. But
That's sick.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, so we want to try and get out west. The same buddy Jared. Hopefully, we're going to try and, like I say, go to New Mexico next year, and then start trying to get out west a little bit more. And then obviously take advantage of everything that we have here in Texas. Because I mean,
Yeah.
we can pretty much year round do stuff. Like Megan enjoys hunting too, so she gets to go on a few hunting trips every year, and then we go fishing and do all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty
Awesome.
cool, like getting to do the things that we get to do, and of course
Oh,
we have
yeah.
a podcast and all that, and then just being able to talk to other people that want to create content and make videos and get to share their stuff too.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, like I said, year-round stuff here in Texas, and you can't beat it. So,
Yeah. So I want to hear this elk story
yeah,
that you said in Wyoming, because you hear different stuff about like for me, elk hunting at its peak is like running, elks bugling, running everywhere, and you're just in the mix of it, especially with your bow.
Yep.
Like it's that is what everybody dreams about when they want to go elk hunting, and it's cool to hear when people get to experience that and not just chasing elk, but not getting to experience that whole running action.
yeah, and we've had hunts like that. Where like sometimes like you're just too early.
Yeah.
Like not to get too deep in it, but last year I drew a Gila bull elk tag,
Nice.
and was fortunate enough to kill my best bull at the time. Like a early rut was like dry, hot, and they just weren't talking. Now in like across canyons maybe, but
Yeah.
like where we were hunting specifically, like it wasn't till the last day out of a 14-day hunt that we were really finally hearing them bugle. And I'd already killed, fortunately, but yeah, it's hit or miss on these elk, especially moon phases. Just weather conditions. Are these cows already maybe going into heat early? But yeah, so I'll start on the Wyoming. This was a hunt I applied for 4 years now. There's some good family friends of mine that live up there, that I've grown to know, actually from here in West Texas, that live up in Wyoming. And so they had kind of mentioned like, hey, you guys should look at applying for these tags. Like we aren't crazy big into, chasing elk or deer as much anymore. Like we just get more enjoyment out of bringing out, friends. And so I'm like, well, hey, I'd love to. And I hit it off with one of my buddies that fortunately has some acreage up there. And I said, well, hey, if it's a draw hunt, that's awesome. So I started just applying, and I was able to put in for a non-resident tag. And after 3 years of gathering points, I applied this past spring and draw this tag. And I'm just like, it's funny because I'm like bouncing off the walls. And within that, I had drawn an ibex tag for New Mexico that, we visited a little bit on Instagram about.
Yeah.
I'm doing here this next week. And I'm sure we can, hopefully if it's successful or not, I can at least give you some knowledge from that, because that's going to be tough.
Okay. I've heard about that hunt from a few different people, and when you texted it to me, I was like, "Oh yeah, like okay, yeah. You're going for that one."
Yeah. So we can dive in that in a bit, but man, I draw this tag, and I'm on cloud nine. I'm like archery bull elk, like awesome. Like, what kind of bulls in this area are we going after, like caliber wise? And to me, I'm still at the beginning stages of my elk hunting career, where if it's a nice big 6x6, I've killed one 6x6 out of the 3 bulls I've killed, including the one I just harvested. And I was like, if I can shoot just a mature 6x6, that's all I'm caring to do, and to go have a good, healthy hunt and like be safe.
Yeah.
Like, so I head up there. It was a quick run. Season opened last Friday, and I was able to run up there and just kind of scout real quick. I had some buddies that were in the area that were guiding hunts like south of the area I was in. and they're kind of keeping up with like rut activities, etc. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, hey, I said, let's go up there. And there was a big section of BLM we had access to that I was like, we can at least peek in these canyons and start listening once I got up there. So opening morning, we hear a couple bulls down in some ravines that are bugling, talking, seeing cows. So we start calling to them. My buddy Tyler and I are up there, and he calls in a spike bull, like right on top of this ridgeline we were working. And we're kind of in between some sagebrush, like I said, kind of that dry, arid area. And this spike bull comes in about 16 yards, and I'm like, oh snap, big bull's got to be coming behind him with some cows. So I'm like arrow nocked, like getting ready to go. I've got GoPros out, like trying just to capture it. And then I'm like, oh gosh, this is a little bit more than like I am just trying to anticipate into the filming, like I mentioned, and the hunting. And so we end up having that spike kind of side hill next to us. Our wind wasn't the best. It swirled on us. He took off, and we work our way down just a little bit into the saddle, and another bull comes around the ridgeline because they're working these trails, because it's so easy to navigate with it being a little bit more open country, that they'll come out and top out and work, say 3/4 of the way up on these ridges. And we got moved in that saddle, sat up against the juniper in the shade, trying to get better wind, and a rag bull comes up, doesn't quite know we're there, but decides to go down in the ravine where we're hearing these other elk. And I was telling Tyler, I'm like, oh, we ought to just rush to the bottom, which is like 900 yards. And it's about a 45-degree slope. Like, it's no easy, just shoot down the bottom.
Yeah.
And me being like just enthusiastic and glad to have a tag, I'm like, let's rush down the bottom. Like, we'll come up above them and like just see if there's a good bull and smoke them. And like these ravines are probably 30 feet deep, maybe, I don't know, probably 20 feet wide. I mean, they're big enough to hide an elk, and because you would just hear them like as they moved further in them and came out. And so I was like, hey, like, what are your thoughts? He's like, man, we need to go back to camp, like relax, like just in the sense of like we need to make a game plan for this evening, glass some different country, see if there's not some more elk back on this public we were in. And I said, all right. So we take our time, don't do anything crazy that evening. We just wanted to glass, see if we can't hear some other elk kind of turning up. And that next day we were like, hey, let's go back in where we had seen those elk before, but the wind this time was coming out of the northwest. And so we had a phenomenal wind in our favor that morning, Saturday morning. We pretty much eased in there, and, we're about probably 35, 45 minutes before light. And we're just kind of listening and starting to hear some like slight bugles, but we can kind of start seeing, with it being a full moon, we could see these elk. They were leaving like where they were feeding at the time and working their way to us up these ravines. And so I was kind of like, okay, here's elk that went up the same finger from the day before. I was like, Tyler, we need to jump over this ridgeline, get back in there, and get on them. And he's like, no, let's just wait. It's now sun up. And he's like, I'm gonna start kind of working a little cow call, like a cow estrus call, really say, hey, I'm up here, come get me. You have X amount of time, pretty much to breed me. And so we're sitting there, and he's calling. I'm watching other elk. We're getting a little bit more bulls to bugle. I see a couple spike bulls working off with these cows, and then we've seen probably 25 elk at this time, but they're not close. I mean, they're down in this ravine off this canyon, probably 600-700 yards. So I'm just looking at them through my little 12x50 vortex, and I'm like, hey, no big bulls yet. And he goes, they're staying out and feeding. He goes, they're about to start working this way though. And there's a trail on the side hill where we're at, 36 yards from the top. I was ranging it because I'm like, they may come over the top like we saw from the day before and be right in our kitchen. And I'm going to have to like let them pass and then shoot from above. And so we kind of relax, let these elk do their thing. And we start hearing a bull like right below us, right off the knob. And like, can't see him, but we can hear him. And he sounds good. You can kind of get a little bit more distinctiveness in some of these older elk, that they've had so much experiences during the rut, like bugling, where their vocals just are a little bit more raspy and they just sound like an older elk. And about that time, we looked to our left, and about 800 yards out, there's a bull bouncing through juniper trees, like walking our way. And I was making not the best, but semi-decent calf calls. I'm like, he's cow calling. I'm like doing my thing, doing some calf calls. Like, I know I don't sound great, but I'm just going to try to make it seem a little bit more vocal up here, like we're a herd of elk.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, stop calling. His read at the time is starting to like crack on him, or his band was wearing out on his call, where he's like trying to blow it backwards to like just get it to loosen up on him and work better. And he's like, hey, best case scenario, like there's a rise as this bull's coming to us. You need to shoot to the bottom, cut about 200 yards off, because he's going to come right into this bull. And there's a cattle fence on this public where these elk like to work fence lines. And there's a very large distinctive trail that they had been on. And he's like, cut down a 35-degree angle. I mean, I was sliding just off to get to where I needed to be because it's a little bit loose hillside. So we're at the top, not skyline, but back behind some boulders to where we can just kind of peek up and glass these elk all morning. And I shoot down at the bottom. He stays up top, and he's now, getting his call all figured out, and it's working good. And I'm distinctively hearing him, but I'm so like focused at this point. As soon as he said go, like it just switched, like get down there and jump in as soon as I can to like the most cover I can get in to close the distance on this bull. And, and Tyler's perspective, like he's like, hey, like he's going to just come to us, like just stop right there. Right. But from just how quick thinking was just like, I want to cut as much distance off from this bull to us as possible. Because if I can provide a better success into cutting him off where I still got cover, still got a good shot angle, that's just going to better our odds at having a bull on the ground. So I end up sliding down and like literally on my butt, like going through sagebrush, and I just like boom, 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 like skipping through it, cut another 200 yards off. I get down into what's about 100, 120 yards from the bottom. There ends up being an old dry wallow in there where these bulls have been working after they come off and feed mid-morning. And I had this bull topping out, and I'm scooting like real slow. My bow's up so I don't get it caught up in anything. And he's 300 yards on the other side of this little bowl we're in. Well, I'm in the shade, still got a northwest wind, so it's good. He's coming working southeast on me. And I'm just marking up distances. I always like to shoot, and I've always learned, like, have pinpoints, just like, when we go to our archery competitions, like, what are we shooting at? And so I'm like, okay, the bottom where that wallow's at, it's like, 120-ish. And I could comfortably shoot out further distances than most archery hunters will probably want you to and like to critique you at. And that's something where I was like, I'm not just going to shoot him as soon as he gets into like my lowest pin range. I'm going to try to get him like as close as possible. Closer. Yep. So he comes in, and I'm like ranging and just making sure arrows knocked, we're good to go. And as soon as I range him at 60, I had him at 62, and I was like, you know what? Like I could shoot him here, but he's still coming to me. So I'm not going to stop him. Just let him do his thing. To my left is a juniper tree about 36 yards. And I'm like, if he goes to that tree, like the angle he was working, that's a 40-yard shot. And so he's coming right up to me, right to that juniper tree, like it was scripted. And I go to grab my release, and it's cockeyed. I run a wrist release, like a true fire. And so it's cockeyed on my hand. And I'm like, ugh, like trying to grab it and pull it over so I can get centered up and pull back on this bull. And I'm like kind of watching the bull out of the corner of my eye, and I do one of these, and he like stops. Well, he ends up stopping where it's head into that juniper, but you got neck and left side shoulders, and he's slightly quartered. So he's at an angle about like this. And I know he's just behind the tree. So I'm like 40 yards, draw back real quick, and just held my 40 on him and shot. And as soon as I shot, I see that arrow like stick, and I'm like, oh shoot, that's shoulder. But the penetration was better than what I thought, because I knew I had at least half an arrow in there. The fletching and whatnot, what had happened is I caught, as he was slightly quartered to me, just about an inch into that shoulder, and just maybe half an inch low. So as soon as it hit him, obviously reaction is to break it in what was that and turn. So he spins off and goes down back into the bottom and runs along that cattle fence line and just stands there. And I posted some videos on my story, but he's just standing in this, valley. I mean, it's just a yellow grass valley. And he looks like he's all humped up and hurt. He honestly looked like he was like gut shot. I'm like, I didn't shoot him in the guts, like it's a 40-yard shot. And so I'm like watching him. I'm cow calling, making sure just to kind of keep things calm, in the sense of like he might just stay right there. Well, he does. And as I'm watching him, like getting ready to knock another arrow, and I'm ranging, and he's like 180 plus. I'm like, I'm not just gonna try to shoot a second shot at that distance.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where he's alert. He knows something's not right, and his ears are pinned back, heads down, and I knew instantly. I'm like, that bull might just die right there. So I watched him for about 45 seconds, hoping he's just gonna like swell up, fall over, and be done. So as I'm like doing that, I'm like videoing him, hopefully gonna fall over. Didn't have the time to set up my cameras for the shot with him coming to me. I was like, I'm just gonna kill this bull. I didn't even look, honestly, Brandon. I like didn't pay attention to his antlers because I knew if I looked at his rack, I was gonna psych myself out, and then that's when you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. And dude, I just go ahead.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. Like I said, I haven't. One of the things I've tried to do because of that, because I've heard so many stories of people looking at their rack. Like I've consciously told myself, if I go out west and I have those opportunities, because you said it's so hard to get tags and you gotta wait years to do it. It's like, okay, once you find that deer or that elk that you're going after and you spot him, you saw how big he was. You don't need to look at him again. Like, I need to make sure that that's the right one, but I don't need to stare at him anymore. Like, I need to be staring at the spot that I want to shoot at, and that's it. Like, and that's something like I always try to like remind myself of for those opportunities.
Yep. And that was it. I was like, I just do not need to pay attention to anything but, where my shot placement is going to be. And, within, like I said, that 45 seconds out of nowhere, I'm like filming, and a second bull comes into this valley, because Tyler was still calling. He didn't see me make the shot. He's like, I'm up at such an angle, like I said, because it's so steep, and I'm into that sagebrush.
And you're shooting a bow and arrow. It's not like you're shooting a rifle where they can hear the rapport and like that you took a shot.
Correct. And so I out of nowhere, the second bull comes in, and I'm like, oh shoot, is this a bigger bull? Like, did I just shoot a smaller bull? And I'm looking, and he's a nice 6x5, probably 300-inch 6x5, and he's all walled up, like he's just like been laying in mud all morning or like in the river, whatever. And he's coming in hot, and not to any of my cow calls. He's coming straight to that other bull, and I mean, he beelines it to my bull, and is like, I've seen it. Corey Jacobson has posted a video with the Elk 101 group, but they've had these bulls come in hissing. Like, you've probably seen it, and like
I think I know what you're talking about. Like, I think I remember seeing it, but I'll have to look at it again now for sure.
So I'd never seen that until like that video, and I'm still obviously in my early stages of elk hunting. Well, this bull comes in, I can't hear him do it, but he's making like that, like kind of hissing look, and I'm sitting there like, okay, that bull's either one gonna go and ruin, this bull's chances of just dying right there and go fight him, or he's going to go and regardless, like pressure my bull up and over that little BLM,
push him off somewhere.
Yeah, that little BLM cattle fence. I'm like, he's going to push him over the little fence, and he's going to go who knows where with his adrenaline or whatnot. So as I'm filming this, it's now 2.5 minutes in. I'm like, I need to stop filming. Like, even though that other bull's there, like I just was debating on rushing in and scaring both off, or just kind of slowly ease my way. So what I decided to do is slowly ease my way and hoping that bull's going to die. And he's just standing there, like all humped up, like slightly moving his head to just see the second bull next to him now at like 10 yards. Well, as I'm moving up to that juniper I shot my elk at, the second bull decides to pressure mine. It does happen. He ends up going like to pretty much square off with him. And my bull like barely jumps this fence. I mean, he jumps it and goes like straight to go bed. And I didn't know that till Tyler had told me, because he cut off around a knob like that I was angled at. So all I see is bull jump the fence. I'm like, oh gosh, he's on the run. So I'm like hustling and side hilling as quick as possible to like come up over the top and shoot him at whatever distance he may be, and what range I can get. Well, I get just enough signal. Tyler's like, hey, get your butt up here. Like, your bull just tried to make a bed on top of that ravine. Like, he literally went right down in the bottom. He may be dead, but let's come up here, make a game plan, give some time.
Yeah.
So I go up top, send a video to my dad, of course, with all his elk hunting experience in northern Arizona. I'm like, hey, check this out. What do you think? He's like, oh, that bull's going to die. Like, he's hurt, like, you know. And Tyler's like, hey, I saw what looks like your shot being in that little bit low front shoulder. And he goes, if that's the case, like, he's going to die right in that ravine. But, you know, he's like, what do you think on time? I said, man, let's give him at least an hour. You know, give him an hour. You know, we've already given pretty much at this time 25, 30 minutes by the time I got back up top. And so we did that, grab all our gear, hike down to the bottom. And he's like, hey, he went in right at this green sagebrush. He goes, you need to be knocked, obviously, you know, have your release on your D-loop and get ready to pull back and make this happen. So I come up over the top and, you know, it's, like I said, 30 feet deep in there, you know, about 10 to 20 feet wide in some spots, but it's all like tall yellow grass. So you just don't know like what he's in. Man, I come up over the top and I'm like, I don't see him at all. And he's like, he went in right there. And I'm like, well, where's he at? And as I go to like slowly let my bow down, he stands up right out of the bottom from like right below me. And I'm like, oh shoot. So I pull back and shoot him with, you know, I know this is 20 or less. And so I saw that front shot and like within a split second, I'm like double lung. Cause if I can get the air out of him, you know, he's not going to go far. Yeah. So I just 20-yard pin, which, you know, realistically all my pins are on him. So I put that 20-yard pin right on him, end up hitting him high double lung. And he ends up jetting down the bottom, runs like 50 yards and just tumbles over. And so I was like, oh, he's done. And so I was like, at that time, I was freaking out, told Tyler, I'm like, yo, we just smoked that bull. And it was just so surreal and so quick that, you know, everything was like, you know, you get like buck fever, but it's elk fever. It was like on steroids. So yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, because I saw the pictures when you posted it, and I was like, man, it Bulls looks like it's in like a weird spot. But now you telling the story, it makes more sense of him being like down in there. Because I was like, man, he's like in a little crevice there. Like it's gonna be kind of hard to pack him out for sure. But dude, that's awesome. Just to go from the experiences, like seeing the bull, getting down the mountain, you know, hoping that you're gonna get there in time to be in the spot where you need to be. He comes in, you shoot him, and then like you're not sure about your shot, like you're thinking it's good, and then you get to watch him just stand there, and you're like, I guess getting excited that he's not just running off, but you're still like, well, go down, and then back up again when this other bull walks in like that. Like it's being in the rut, like you said, and then that because there's no other reason why that bull would like come up to him like that or try to challenge him or run him off or anything, but they're running. You said he was in a wallow and covered in mud, and he was just, you know, all amped up and ready to go. And of course, y'all are calling, and the estrus call that Tyler was doing, like it was just a perfect just scenario of a bunch of things to go on that you get to see and that you wouldn't see any other place but elk hunting. Yep. And that's a cool story, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was neat because, you know, that bull, and, you know, you're so like, it's almost like foggy memory because your adrenaline's going, but, you know, that bull's screaming as he's coming in, both of them. And just the first thing I'm thinking is like, you know, just make sure you get a good shot. Like, don't worry about anything else but getting a good shot. And, you know, you get the highs of highs, but then the lows of lows. You know, when he stood there, like humped up like that, I'm like, as a bow hunter, the first thing you're thinking is my shot low? Is it bad? Did I just barely nick him? But then seeing him and watching him like that before trying to even make a second attempt at a shot, you know, it was almost better that we did that than pressure him. And, you know, they get all of a sudden that adrenaline pumping through them, and then they haul, you know, who knows where and go wherever. But yeah, we get down in that ravine and walk up to that bull. And I mean, you're in a space, I mean, no wider than this room I'm probably in. And you're kind of like, man, okay, he's in like almost like a pinch point. And we walk up, and my first shot, and I've got a video of it, it's literally as that, you know, you get that shoulder bone that kind of cuts in like a slight V down to that elbow. I mean, it is like right there, and it's not even that thick. And the arrow, what had happened, goes in, and he breaks it as he goes to run. and you get about anywhere from 12 inches plus of penetration. And he ended up just filling up his chest cavity when we had ended up
With
gutting
blood,
him. Yeah. So, I mean, he had 8 to 10 inches of blood in his diaphragm. And we were like, man, this bull was going to die. Luckily, we got a second shot in to just get it done, as quick as we could. And, obviously the second shot being money and double lunging, like it was able to take him out, with efficiently as quick as we did. So,
yeah, because they're not small animals.
No,
Elk are huge animals, and it takes a lot of time to, for that blood to fill up in their cavity because it's huge, and it just takes a little bit longer for elk to die.
Yep. And when I got down to him is when I really understood like how big he was, because he was like fresh out of velvet, still had real white, antlers for the most part, versus like some of these bulls I've killed are real dark antlers just based on where they're at. And I told Tyler, I was like, man, that's a good bull. Like I don't shoot him for the score, but as I'm becoming a better elk hunter, I'm focusing on like, okay, how can I field judge better, right?
Yeah.
And scoring him for that purpose of, okay, this bull has short fronts, or this one has better thirds, maybe his beams are longer and the width is better, and what does circumference look like? And so Tyler and I were down there, and I was like, man, this might be my best bull. And he's like, you sure? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, he's deceiving because his main beams wrap all the way back around to where he's got a real narrow back end, but he ends up being wider than if not as wide as my first bull. But his main beams were 51 inches long, and so he was so long that he comes all the way back out, and his whale tails, one was real pretty, and the other one kind of just scoops up in a different form, and it just is it's a Wyoming elk, in this area. It's just a different look on him, and Tyler's like, he's better than what you think, and my fiance, she's like, well, are you gonna mount him? And I'm like, well, it just depends. Like if he's better than my first bull by quite a bit, then yeah. And he had 21 inches over on my first bull. And so I was like, all right, like we might have to find some room for him. So yeah,
that's cool, man. Like, and it, like you said, like field judging and want to shoot a more mature bull than the one you shot before is definitely admirable. Cause I mean, it's like I said, it's with different ways different people hunt, and I like doing that too. Like I like being able to say that is a sign of shooting a mature animal. That's a way that you can age animals. Now that is a part of it. You can get those phenoms that they're still young, but they're pretty big too, and they could be even bigger when they get older. So you got to judge body and everything else with it. But like you said, just having a bar or having something set, a goal you're trying to meet is a good thing in hunting, I think, because there's different levels to hunters. Of course, when you first get into it, you want to shoot everything that moves. You want to kill everything that moves. And I think that helps with your skill. Obviously, it's a part of it. And then you get into the part where, like, I want to find this one deer or this one bull and chase him. And it just kind of goes on from there on. But, having those different phases of being a hunter, and I think it's why it's so different. And everybody can have their own little thing. And just because you want to kill everything that moves, you don't necessarily have a timetable, or it's not like a thing. It's just whenever you get started. And that's one thing, like I like doing the mentored hunts and seeing people hunt for the first time. Like it's cool seeing people shoot their first animal, because it's like you yourself is going back and doing that again. So I like doing that, but it's their progression is going to go from there. And they'll be hunting out west too.
It's interesting because we and you're probably familiar with them, and I know Brandon is at least our SCI chapter, but the Trinity Oaks out here, they did a dove hunt, their first one ever a few years back, and I was at a company where we were able to sponsor, and like that was it for me. Like you're bringing kids out and getting them their first animals and getting them involved in the outdoors. Like not only like is it a different excitement for yourself, because like I'm sure you've seen it before plenty of times, but when you're sitting next to somebody else who gets that opportunity, like you get the buck fever in a different way, and it's cool. I mean, like that's what I've enjoyed a lot is I got nephews and nieces now that are like interested in it, and getting others involved as we get older and we kill these great caliber animals. It kind of is able to now shadow in somebody who hasn't even got one, right? Or hasn't had the opportunity, and then yeah, it not only makes you a better hunter, but it's all about like providing the resources for other people too. So it's super
Yep.
neat, super neat.
Heck yeah, man! I appreciate that. It's something that obviously why we do a little bit of what we do, and we try to give back and do things, and just to keep it going. Because I mean, now it's like I'm 32. Yeah, I'll be 33 in November, and it's
Nice.
like you're seeing like when you go to these events like SCI has and stuff, and you see these older men that have been doing this, and you see them get lifetime achievement awards, and I mean, it's not about the awards. What I'm getting at, but it's about the years that they put in to these organizations and the things that they've changed or stopped from changing. And it's like you see the demographic of these organizations is getting older and older, and it's like it clicked for me. It's like, well, who's going to be in the next group to really keep this stuff going? Like it's doing good work. You're doing good things, and you're standing up for hunting and fishing, and it's why we participate in the things that we do, because if there's nobody to run these organizations and to make these things happen, it's slowly going to die off. And
Yep.
I kind of don't want to leave this earth and not know that I tried to help out and make sure that my son, now we're expecting, so we're going to have a boy in March,
Congrats.
so like I want him to be able to hunt and fish and do the things he wants to do. So
Yeah, congratulations. I
appreciate
I
that,
saw
man.
that, man. I was like, oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a boy, and I want to get to go. Well, Megan already took him technically on his first hunt. She went on a hog hunt a couple months ago. So I was like, well, not a couple months ago, but it was like maybe a month and a half ago. So I was like, giving her shit about it, and be like, oh, well, you just took away my first fatherly duty. You took my son on his first hunt already. But no, it's pretty cool. He gets to do right now. He gets to do a lot of cool stuff with mom. So.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start buying guns and all kinds
Oh
of good
yeah,
stuff.
everything from now on is for him. Like it's not even about me anymore. So
Yep.
we'll get to say it. We'll hear yes a whole lot more now.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's like the beauty of it, though. Is like back to me starting out in diapers. That's gonna be our next generation. And I mean, if they're willing to learn and want to be involved, like that's up for us to pass on the mantle. So it's exciting.
For sure. Yeah. And like my buddy Jared's got 2 boys, so, and I got a whole bunch of other friends that have kids too, and I'm like, we want to do stuff with them and go hunt. And my buddy Bobby lives in Colorado. He's got 2 girls, but he takes them whenever he goes. And I mean, his daughter Peyton, I can't remember how many miles he said she went, but like for a young girl, they went on a hike and she went and did the whole thing with him. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. You're getting your daughter out and doing that kind of stuff. So
it's
we
impressive.
kind of try to make it a thing, I heard I think it might have been Cam Haynes or something like that, but it's like if you want your kids to do badass shit, you kind of have to show them by you doing badass shit. So it's kind of be the motto, I guess, I'm a live by for a while.
Yeah, and when you grow up into, like I was fortunate enough to do with the Western hunting and the bow hunting, etc. Like you just get in a habit of like, well, aren't we doing this that time of year? Or like, aren't we supposed to be applying for tags?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Becomes routine.
For sure, man. So what else do you have for the rest of the year? Or what's the next hunt you're going on? I know so the ibex hunt's coming up next.
Yep.
And I kind of want to talk about that because I've heard, I think 1 or 2 other podcasts. I think one of the guys from Go Hunt went and did the ibex hunt one time, and I heard a podcast on it. But this is like a next to the scimitar on base kind of deal. That's the next coolest thing in New Mexico that I've heard about.
Yeah. So a little history on the ibex in New Mexico, from what I've gathered, is in the late 1960s. I think it was 1969, early 70s. They introduced these Persian ibex and brought them in. And the herd, for what I've gathered, flourished, within that time into the early 2000s, and over the years have kind of been decimated just with tag allocations, but then also I'm sure mountain lions and whatnot on the mountain, just with your natural, obviously environment in general.
Yeah.
So this was something that wasn't really brought up to me until last year. I apply like in some states like Arizona through my cousin's group. They run a mountain strategics draw application group. But then I also was able to go out with a buddy of mine, Derek, in New Mexico for my Gila hunt. And he was like, hey, like, let's kind of look at ibex, for future hunts. Like, not only is he an expert at it, but some of his other guys are like, that's like their background, like back of their hand. So I applied as of this last spring, just, hey, I'm going to do the archery hunt, apply for muzzleloader and then apply for rifle. And I had seen like a couple other guys that have gone and filmed hunts on YouTube. Like I had watched them and was like, man, that looks epic. Like I'm always up for a challenge. And if it's bow hunting, like I'm more for as much fair chase, as much challenge as I can get within the range of not, hopefully falling off a cliff or being bit by rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
I hear that's pretty common out there. Just the rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I applied last spring, ended up drawing the hunt prior to knowing about Wyoming. And long before told, I'm like also planning an engagement at that time. So I'm like, wow, I've got a big year ahead. And I was like, I better get these hunts out of the way just because, the ibex is once in a lifetime if you do kill a billy on the mountain, and they only allocated 100 tags this year for the archery, which is still a lot because I think they've only got a little over maybe 200, 300 sheep on the mountain. And it's not a giant mountain range by any means, south of Deming. The Floridas is what it's known as. But it's just a sense of like how you hunt those animals and the terrain they live in. It's like aoudad hunting on steroids. I mean, you're going up, straight cliffs and maybe taking 2 steps forward and you can't take that step back. I mean, you've got to really not only physically plan for it, but mentally, because it's just hot. It's an October hunt. It's the first hunt of, really the fall timeline. And it can be brutal from what I've gathered. So
yeah, and how you're going to get water up there, and then having to come all the way back down, and yeah, it's a very technical hunt.
Yep.
As far as being able to plan everything out, and it's a cool hunt because, like you said, you're hunting an animal that was introduced there, and it's in some rough terrain, and I've heard guys that have had success in it. Doing it for sure, but like it's like you said, you got your planning and your strategy that you're going to implement really needs to be on point.
Yeah, there's a 2% club they call it for if you do kill an ibex on the mountain. So that's assuming 2 guys kill billies or
out of 100 people.
Out of 100 people,
like you said, there's 100 tags, so 2 guys out of that 100.
Yeah,
golly, that's some odds against you, but like you said, you're up for the challenge.
Yeah, and I'm happy to go out there in general just to say I got to do it at the age I am. I'm 28 now. Who knows what my knees are going to be like here in 3, 4, 5 years. It's just like, let's do this now. And I've had buddies and, they're like, oh, man, you need to turn that tag back. And that's like one of the most brutal hunts, like even like outfitters and friends of mine, they're like, yeah, just go ahead and turn that in. I'm like, like the guys I'm going with, like I'm extremely confident in, like on whether or not I get a shot opportunity, I know we're going to get on some goats. So it's just, if I kill one, great. If not, like I know we're gonna have a good time. So that's what I'm like. I'm just excited just to go out there and try it.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's obviously it's not that easy to get a tag. So it's like you drew it, you put in for it, you drew it, you might as well go.
Yep.
Like you're already that far in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited to hear about it and everything when you get back. Because like you said, it's a real technical hunt. I've heard of a few guys doing it. But it's like you said, it's not something that a lot of people talk about because of how hard it is. But being able to be up in that country and see it and see those animals and chase them, it's something to work for. Yeah,
they talk about factoring in your third axis too when you're shooting up there because you're shooting either straight up or straight down, and when you're in West Texas, Midland, you're going to be shooting a lot pretty flat most of the time. So I'm just glad with. Being able to successfully hunt and kill an aoudad and then roll into that successful elk hunt. I'm like, hey, like I've had a phenomenal year. I'm just extremely fortunate for what I've been able to accomplish now. And it's just, if we manage to get on an ibex and kill a nice mature billy, like that's going to be the cherry on top. And if not, it's, I'm big in my face. So it's whatever God's got planned. I mean, that's just plain and simple. So
That's good to hear, man. That's cool. Like
Yeah.
to hear you have on that aspect of it, because like you said, you've had a great year, and then you're going on another cool adventure. It's just being able to go and spend time out there. Because like for me, I don't go to church a lot, but I am pretty strong in my faith and things, and I like being in nature. Like that's my church, I would
Yep.
say. And you're gonna be in a spot. It's real special for me, I guess, when I look at it. It's like when you're in a spot that not a lot of other people haven't been.
Yep.
Like, and I feel like that's kind of like a cool connection that you have with God when you're in those kind of places like that. Like me and my buddy Jared climbed up on top. I'm sure other people have been there, but like climbing on top of a mountain in Idaho. Like growing up as a kid, you really look at it and want to go there and do those things. So when you actually get there and get to see it, it's like I'm only here because of him, and he
Yeah.
allowed me to do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, man.
No, and it's, another perspective too is like there's so many different things that go on these hunts. Like, a bull elk living to a mature life enable, for you to harvest it at that age and
Yeah.
class, is my bow operating properly? I could have caught a snag on a sagebrush coming down and tweaked a pin, like everything has to align so perfect. And I've always just said, like there's always a higher power, I think, that comes into play on top of, just prepping for these hunts and like putting in, I think, in his hands, and like whatever happens is part of hunting. And that's what, makes it so special, is like, getting into God's country. Like I tell people, it's like your church. It's kind of like my church. Like,
Yeah.
when the wind's in my favor and I've got a big bedded mule deer or big giant, bull screaming right below me, and I know something's about to happen, like that's like the pinnacle for me. And so, yeah, we always say, like, keep the faith. Like that's our thing. Like, and a
Yeah.
lot of people have that motto, and like whether you have a bad day, good day, whatever, like just kind of keep the faith, and it'll all be all right. Like there's bigger things to come. So
Oh, for sure. And like being able to test yourself in those and put yourself in those experiences when you have to come back to like work and life,
Yep.
it makes things a whole lot easier. Like
yeah,
you tend to let people into traffic, and like not yell, and like you just I think a lot more people need to be out in nature. You don't necessarily have to be hunting and shooting animals and stuff, but like going on a hike, going out and seeing birds and deer and everything else, like that's things that we're supposed to do. Like
Yeah.
we're not just supposed to be trapped in four walls every day for 8-9 hours a day. Like I'm all for
Yeah.
working, but you got to get out there and let your eyes see some stuff.
yeah, maybe lose a little bit of service in that canyon. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
They're like, yeah, I'm a big proponent of that, and getting more people into it too, because I think that's one of the biggest problems that people have is like being stuck in. I mean, like you said, technology is cool. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have this podcast. We wouldn't be on social media. We wouldn't be talking. Like I said, met a lot of cool people, but you gotta have a balance somewhere in there too. And hunting and fishing kind of will definitely be a good option.
for sure.
Yeah, man. So what after you get back from the ibex hunt, what else you got going this year?
Man, I think that's kind of it. Maybe just some miscellaneous lease trips, but I think for the most part we're kind of just wrapping up the year with those, and planning for a wedding. I think next May
Oh.
we're planning for. So yeah,
Nice, man. Congrats.
Yeah, appreciate
Join
it.
the club. We just got married this past April. So yeah,
Nice.
I'm coming out of what you're going into, and
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, one of the best. I told our wedding planner this idea that I had when we first started getting our stuff together, and she said it was some of the best advice she's ever heard a groom say. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but the wedding planner said that.
Nice.
So when she asks you and y'all are deciding on things, I don't know how far y'all are in this journey of planning this wedding, but have her bring you 4 options, and then you choose out of those options.
Okay.
So that way you're always right because she already chose them.
Yeah, that's true.
So I told that wedding planner that, and she was like, "That's pretty smart." And I'm telling every groom that from now on. So
Yep.
it worked. Like,
Yeah.
just bring me 4 options. Because if you ask me, what do you like? Well, what do you want to do? No.
Yeah.
I want to make your day.
Yeah, I was like, just tell me when and where, and I think I'll make sure just to get that narrowed down. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Just
yeah,
get the options narrowed down.
yep, yep. So yeah, we've got. I bet realistically, we've probably got 80% of it knocked out. We were fortunate
Awesome.
enough. We're actually getting married in Fredericksburg.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so we were able to go to a venue where it's like almost like a package. So we were like, hey, like this is what we're wanting to do, and like yeah, like here's a list of what else you might need, and just already have your vendors lined out. I'm like, perfect. So yeah,
Heck yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see. We do some weddings too. We've done like filming for video and for photo. So yeah, it's cool when they go to those venues and kind of have everything lined out. We actually partner with one down in South Texas, kind of like that too. So like they're on a
nice.
preferred vendor list, and everybody knows how to work with everybody, and there's no mishaps and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
I might need to be giving you a call about coming to video and shoot some photography.
Yeah, we can do that too, man. We can do that too. We're right up the road. Well, we live in Burnett, so a little north of Austin.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so Fredericksburg ain't that far away.
Cool. Sweet.
Yeah.
We'll
Sounds good, man.
After the podcast.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. It was a lot of fun getting to talk to you and everything and get to meet you finally. And, I'll be definitely following along for your ibex hunt. I'm going to turn your notifications on your stories. I don't know if you're going to have service or not, but I'm a big fan of that. When you mentioned Remy earlier, I was like, man, I really liked how he does his stories.
Yep.
And Stephen West, I don't know if you follow him, but he does
West, man.
Dude, yeah. And like the way they do their stories and stuff, and I kind of try and like do that too, and I get to go on little trips, but like being able to follow along, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so,
no, he's play by play, and like that's the coolest thing about it is like it might not go on the YouTube channel, but like it's like then and there, and like he's good at saving his onto his Instagram, so you can go back and keep up with him. And yeah, I've tried to do that. I as long as I got some signal. Sometimes I thought it might be better just to save them and just then post them, but it's so much more fun to share them when you're right in that moment.
Yeah, when you're doing it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. We'll have everything in the link below so everybody else listening to the podcast can check out your page and follow along as well when you go on your ibex hunt, and check out this giant elk that he shot a couple weeks ago in Wyoming. And we're gonna have to talk about Arizona and some other stuff too, man. I ain't trying to take all your secrets, but give me a little.
Man, I'm an open book.
Put in and we'll go do some hunts together. I'd like to go hunting with you a couple times.
Yeah, come application season. We can get together and I've got some buddies we at the same time because it takes so many years to get these tags. We'll get a game plan going, and if you want to shoot a once in a lifetime animal, there's ways to do it, and it may take a little bit longer, but it's possible. So
we can get there. Well, heck yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast and appreciate everybody listening this week. Go check out Taylor's page Through the Gray. Check out his YouTube channel, Instagram, and give him a follow. He's a pretty cool dude. Enjoyed the podcast today, and hopefully we'll be seeing a little more of him here soon too.
Yes, sir.
So thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, Brandon.